Hello and welcome back to Collector Creations. In this video we're talking about The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. This is the new limited edition 4K from Imprint, which is a really, really beautiful set. So I'm going to dive into it the best I can. I think there's some dirt on that. Yes. Lenticular covers. We'll dive into the packaging, we'll dive into the video, the audio, and the special features, which I've dived into a hell of a lot of. And of course, there is an extra essay and some art cards. So let's look at the whole package. It's a whole thing. So of course, you do get your lenticular cover, which is really nice. I'll do my best to try to show off its lenticular nature. It does have a good 3D effect to it, mostly because it's a landscape image, so you do get that whole desert in the background. But the spine does have it written there of the adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, of course. This is imprint number 366, a 4K UHD. It is limited edition, but it doesn't actually have a number on it, which I think is really interesting, because most of the time when you get a set like this from Imprint, they will have a number on it. It is a hard case set, of course, and does have artwork on the back, which is really nice, you know? I mean, it's a good encapsulation of what the film is. It's fun. And you do get your J card as well, which you can do with what you will. It's not really a necessary J card to have, given that most of these details are all on the Blu-ray case. So, yeah, I'll probably just, in my traditional way, fold it up and put it inside. Easy peasy. You get a little folder, which is obviously very, very gay. Very sparkly and everything, or at least has that kind of facade, which houses all your art cards, which is, you know, the poster for the movie. These are all nicely produced, as Imprint usually does. Then just stills, you know, promotional stills and whatnot of the film, of different characters from different scenes. Obviously, it's got a high gloss, so you can tell because you can see the viewfinder's reflection. But yeah, just it shows some nice images from the film, some iconic shots and whatever. I don't really have any criticisms against this. It's nice, you know. Again, it's the limited edition factor, and this is stuff that people don't love to get nowadays with physical media sets for some reason. But at the same time, I think it's a nice encapsulation, you know. But it also bonuses because it has a booklet, which is a very nice, very interesting read as well. We get artwork on both sides. The artwork actually is replicated throughout the set as well. This is like the same art that you get on the lenticular, but just with that blue cut out for the, you know, landscape of Australia with the bus. And this is actually an image that's both on one of the disc menus and on one of the discs itself. You know, same image here is the same on the back of the actual art on the hard case. This is Out of the Bus and Onto the Streets, Performativity, Masculinity, and Australian Culture in the Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert by Sally Christie, friend of the channel. Which is one of the reasons I wanted to get this, because she had written her essay about the film and I was really interested for that. But also, I do really like the film, and the previous Blu-ray release was quite nice, but didn't really, you know, completely suffice with, you know, a decent, transfer and, you know, nice audio and all that jazz, but a commentary and some featurettes. But now, look, you get an essay, which is great, written by Sally. It's very interesting, very well written. You get as well, this is a second kind of essay as well. I think it's just production information, which I think is actually just like first-hand information from the director. And yeah, so that's the booklet. And of course you get the case itself, your traditional 4K case with the same artwork on the front of that, you know, replicates from the main poster, as you said, it's one of the art cards. You get all the details there as well. There is a lot of details. Only really 2 discs worth of details, realistically, because the 4K and Blu-ray have the new transfer. and which is restored from the original 35mm negative by Imprint Films. You get the audio commentary by writer-director Stephen Elliott, which is from the original, at least it's on the original Blu-ray, it's probably from the original DVD as well, so archival and a theatrical trailer. That's what's on the first two discs, the 4K and the Blu-ray. The second Blu-ray houses all the rest, including a whole documentary and probably about another 2 hours of featurettes, including interviews. Actually, maybe longer. Yeah, I think that there's probably at least 2.5 hours worth of video on the special feature disc alone. Maybe more. No, more than two, because there's a hour-long documentary. There's a 50-minute long featurette, which is also kind of a documentary. There's a half-an-hour interview with the director, a 17-minute interview with one of the actors. So maybe 3.5 hours. There's a lot of stuff on this set. Of course, you get your 4K disc with this nice inside tray. You get the Blu-ray, and you get the special features disc. This one specifies documentary plus special features, and you do get reversible artwork, but it's just it's that image, and of course, because it's a 4K case, you can't see it because it's a black case, but I appreciate them putting in that extra little touch. I would have preferred maybe a different poster or whatever, but to be fair, there isn't much variation on posters. Even like on Letterboxd, they don't have much. So let's talk about the video and audio. As stated, the video is a native 4K from, Imprint actually doing a restoration of the 35mm negative. It is director approved as well, because the director, Stephen Elliott, is Australian, because it's an Australian film. Isn't that great? Hi, I'm from Australia. Wonderful place we got here. But yeah, so it's a beautiful remaster. It looks really gorgeous. The Dolby Vision gives it a great uptick in details. It's one of those films that, because it's highly designed in terms of like costuming, you get all those little itty bitty eccentricities. Oh my god, I cannot pronounce words today. Eccentricities. I don't even think that's even how you pronounce it. But you get little details which you can notice so beautifully. But of course, it's also such a rich film in terms of it being a landscape film. It beautifully encompasses the Australian outback, from just the desert plains and everything. And also, Sydney and Alice Springs and Cooperpedy. You get some great iconography, and it is it's a gorgeous goddamn movie to begin with, and it looks so much better on 4K than it did on the previous Blu-ray. The previous Blu-ray already looked pretty good, but this definitely looks far superior. I didn't notice any real blemishes or anything. There was one or two white specks very, very rarely throughout the film, and most of those were during transitional sequences, fade in, fade out kind of deal. But for the most part, there was no issues, no errors, no problem at all with the visuals. It's a stunning picture. Bitrate wise, on the occasion that I checked it, it was roughly around 80 megabits most of the time, between 70 to 80. Depending on the lighting changes, like if it was dramatic, it would drop to 20, then jump up to 100 and something. So those very minor fluctuations don't happen too often, but for the most part, it had a good, consistent, healthy bitrate. So I was very pleased with it. The audio, as well as the DTS 5.1 master audio, it does have a 2.0, I believe, just LPCM 2.0 stereo. I listened to the 5.1 because I listened to it for the whole track, because it's a film that has, songs. You get ABBA, you get I'll Survive, you get a bunch of different songs in it. You even get the Village People, which is really funny. But yeah, it beautifully encompasses the whole entire system. It is the old 5.1, but to be fair, there's not really much room to improve. Like, the dialogue sounds great, it sounds natural, there's no issues there, the music sounds great. It's a good audio track altogether. The main kicker is the visuals just being stunning. But then we get to the special features, and this was a lot. Now, of course, you do have the booklet, which has the essay by Sally Christie. But in terms of video stuff, which is housed on a whole extra disc outside of the audio commentary on both the 4K and Blu-ray disc, what do we get? So we have Between a Frock and a Hard Place, which is a feature-length documentary. It's an hour long. It came out in 2015. It's basically a making of the film, but for half of it. The other half, which it intercuts between, is like talking about Australia and queer culture from like the 60s through to the 90s, building up to basically them making the film. And it's really interesting. I think it's a little bit messy as a documentary in itself because it jumps back and forth between some pretty like harsh subject matter to just, hey, look, isn't this stuff fun? You know, like going from this person was brutally murdered to, hey, look, Mardi Gras. It's very tonally a bit imbalanced on the occasion. There's a lot of information that could have still been said throughout the documentary that wasn't, and I feel like it could have been longer. But that's not a thing that Imprint did. They just licensed it for this, and I love that for it because it's, again, got the director and the cast and got a whole bunch of people. It's very interesting because, again, learning about the making of the film and, like, who inspired and everything is great. But then it's also talking about, like, all this, like, really interesting, like, historical stuff about the AIDS crisis and all this kind of stuff throughout that period. And it's like, I feel like they needed a bit more room for both parts. You know, I would have loved to have seen them talking about the film and its reception from the queer community. They basically just talk about how it was received at Cannes. And it's like, that's great, but, you know, 10 minutes standing ovation, wonderful. But how did the queer community accept the film outside of just it becoming a musical? A stage musical, that is. And then becoming a Korean stage musical? What the hell? Anyway, we also get Priscilla, a celebration for everybody, which is an interview with writer-director Stephen Elliott, which was recorded this year in 2024. This is a 28-minute long interview, which it covers some stuff that is talked about in the documentary, but for the most part, it's just a nice encapsulation of them making the film and the process of basically all the stuff that the director went through. It's very insightful, very interesting. I imagine some of it would probably also be on the documentary, as well as the commentary track as well. You do get a interview with Mark Holmes titled The Average Little Boy, he's the actor who played Hugo Weaving's character's son in the film. And that was nice because it's a 70-minute long interview with him talking about why he became an actor and basically how he got the role and all this kind of stuff. So it's just got a nice kind of sweet touch to it, which was interesting to listen to. There's also basically the rest is archival featurettes, but they distinguish differently, at least from the old Blu-ray release, because it does still have like the Birth of a Queen featurette, which is like a half an hour making of. You get, I think it was Backstage and Bus from Bloopersville, which is like 10 minutes featurette of making the film and 10 minutes of bloopers and outtake, all from the old release. But you do get Behind the Bus Priscilla with her pants down, which is an outtakes reel. Birth of a Queen, which I mentioned, was a half an hour one. Tidbits from the Set, which is 6 minutes long, which again is just them interviewing the cast during the making of the film. Backstage is an extended featurette, like I mentioned. The one that I found really interesting was Ladies Please, which is actually referenced in the Between a Rock and a Hard Place documentary. There's footage of it, but I didn't realize what it was. It is actually a 50-minute long documentary basically talking about the three performers who inspired Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Which is great. I love that they just have that on here. So it's just encapsulating the 90s drag scene in this 50-minute long documentary with some shows and performances. It shows them throughout their life, them growing up, what inspired them and everything. It's really, really nice. And a great archival piece to put in this. It flows perfectly with just this whole set, with like understanding Australian culture and Australian queer culture. So yeah, I really like that they put that on. I think that's probably my favorite featurette next to the documentary. So yeah, it's just really great. It's a 50-minute long documentary just sitting there as well. There is obviously trailers as well, the original Australian trailer, US theatrical and teaser trailers, and the photo gallery, which is like 4 odd minutes worth of photos, which is nice. A lot of behind-the-scenes stills and stuff, probably a lot of promo stuff and whatever, but I like the behind-the-scene nature, what they show, what they don't show. It's good. It's a great selection of special features. Realistically, this is a standout set. It's a beautiful 4K, and it has a great array of special features. The extra limited edition bonuses being the essay by Sally Christie, and then the lenticular cover and the extra art cards is just a nice, just glossy bonus as well. Especially, just mostly the essay. It's a great reason to pick up the limited edition before it probably eventually sells out. Again, it doesn't have a specific limited number, or at least a batch number written on it, but it will eventually, I assume, sell out because it is an iconic piece of Australian cinema, and this is a great way to showcase it. Imprint has done a wonderful job with the visuals. Again, the audio hasn't been upgraded, but I love that you still get the 5.1 and the 2.0 mix. Can't go wrong there, plus you get the audio commentary that already existed, but at least it's on the release. But I think the main kicker, outside of just how beautiful the 4K looks, is the wealth of special features. 3 to 4 hours worth of special features, 2 documentaries, 2 different brand new interviews, and a bunch of, archival deleted scenes and bloopers and all this kind of stuff. So it is a hell of a release, beautifully packaged, and I'm so happy to have it on my shelf now. It's wonderful. Alright, well that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Adios.